We are here tonight to worship a huge, massive God of grace and glory. The story opens like this, in case you forgot. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and He said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And that was a phenomenal moment when that happened, because light came out of the mouth of God traveling 186,000 miles a second. There's an image of it for you, by the way. It's a little more fierce than we often think. It's 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface, but what I want you to see about it is how big it is. It's 93 million miles away, so when you're looking up in the sky, it's pretty good pace out there. By the way, light traveling 186,000 miles a second, it's only taken 8 minutes to cover that 93 million mile journey to touch your skin here in Atlanta, Georgia. But what I want you to see is the size of it. It's like 1,000,000 times the size of the earth, and that matters to us tonight when you hear what the psalmist said. Listen to his words. By the word of the Lord, this is Psalm 33, the heavens were made. In other words, God didn't lift a finger when He made the universe. By the word of the Lord, the heavens were made. But He goes on to say, their starry hosts by the breath of His mouth. So we're looking at something so intense that we don't want to get any closer than 93 million miles away, which is what we are right now. And then we read that God just breathes out stars. It's crazy to think about it. 1,000,000 times the size of the earth. So here's a little perspective that sort of changed my life. If the earth were the size of a golf ball, okay, the sun would be 15 feet in diameter. Okay, that didn't seem to move anybody either, so let me try it a different way. Let me just try it just a different way. I thought I might need this, so I brought a golf ball, okay? So all through the evening, this is gonna represent Earth, all right? So this is where we are. I need everybody in the building to look as closely as you can and find yourself, okay? And when you found yourself, I want you to nod your head so that I know you've located you on the earth, okay? You're nodding your head? Okay, you found yourself. If the earth were a golf ball, the sun would be 15 feet in diameter. That's not 15 feet in diameter. Can we blow that up just a hair, maybe give them 15 feet in diameter? So here's a little perspective for you, okay? Is this working for anybody? Here we are on the earth, and that's the sun. It's so big, you could put 960,000 Earths inside the sun. So if the earth were a golf ball and the sun were 15 feet in diameter, you could put 960,000 golf balls inside that 15-foot diameter sun. That's enough golf balls, by the way, because I know that seems like a big number, to fill a school bus with golf balls could fit inside the 15-foot in diameter sun. It's a massive star, and it's one of hundreds of billions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy, our cul-de-sac in the neighborhood called the cosmos that God has made. I love science, and science has just brought us the largest star they found. It's called, are you ready for this? Canis Majoris. Now, I'm no linguist, but that's a cool name for the biggest star we've found so far. I think that means the big dog star, and that's exactly what it is. I bring it to you as a little bitty purple, glow just to the right of center there. But Canis Majoris, oh wow. If the earth were a golf ball, Canis Majoris would be the height of Mount Everest. Almost 6 miles above sea level, the highest point on the planet, and I just dare you to get up there and unzip the parka and pull out your golf ball. You could fit 7 quadrillion Earths inside Canis Majoris. That's enough Earths, if the earth were a golf ball, to cover the entire state of Texas in golf balls, 22 inches deep. You see the one you're on? Maybe this will help a little bit more. This absolutely blew my mind. Just a little journey through our solar system. Everyone knows our planets and sort of how we fit in to the story here. You see really quickly that we're not even the biggest deal in our own solar system, but as Earth comes by, you have to know tonight that we are living on a privileged planet. Anyone would tell you we're living at one of the most special places, if not the most special place. in all of creation. But Neptune comes by and Saturn and then Jupiter, and you're like, okay, we're not all that big, even in our own little cul-de-sac. I just noticed the blue dot fading away is not the Earth. That's Neptune. The Earth has gotten too small to see anymore. Sirius comes by. Little plug for satellite radio. Not the biggest star, but the brightest star that we have found so far. Pollux, which we didn't mention. Arcturus. Such a beautifully named one, Regal. But then the one that messed me up. Our third star, Musifi. Musifi's cousin, W. Cephei. Canis Majoris. And do you know that you couldn't come up here right now with a Sharpie and make a mark on the screen that would approximate the size of our sun? You couldn't even do it. I mean, when you look at these in their relative size, we just have to put a little arrow over there that says, if you could put the sun on here, which you can't, it would go somewhere about here. And can you hang on that for me? And when you see this, I don't know what happens to you, but I'll tell you what happens to me. A shrinking feeling comes over me, and it's not a bad shrinking feeling, it's a good shrinking feeling. Because sin, it has a way of shrinking God down in our minds and puffing us up in our own estimation. But just a glance into the universe that God has made resizes everything in a heartbeat. And you realize tonight we are worshiping an unrivaled, uncontested God of all kind of might and power and glory and awe, there's none like him anywhere in all of creation tonight.
What do you call a lazy baby kangaroo?
A lazy baby kangaroo?
A pouch potato.
That's so cute.
How do you think the unthinkable? I don't know if this one is so funny. I didn't get it. We'll skip it. It says later it into an iceberg, but
A what?
Say it again.
It says, how do you think the unthinkable? It says
Oh,
later it into an iceberg.
how do you sink the unsinkable?
No, it says how do you?
I know, but if you change the
Oh.
TH to S,
Oh.
and the Titanic ran into an iceberg.
Oh, okay. Oh, I get it. I get
Well,
it
I
now.
got you. Amy.
Okay, we'll
Understood
just do a couple more. What two things can you not have for breakfast?
Lunch and dinner.
Very good.
Wow.
I got food covered.
Why cannot the bicycle stand up by itself?
Somebody kicked its stand or
It
something.
was too tired.
Oh,
Ah.
that's cute.
There we. Well, we'll do
I've
one.
got one
Okay, go
that
ahead.
I happened to find in the grandma site. Why do we always see Peter Pan flying? Because he never lands.
Ah.
That's cute. Okay, that's
Never
good.
mind.
There. Okay, well, I think what we'll do is,
I know, but
and
that's
then-
I only get 20 minutes at a time. That's
Did you do
I have
good?
to start over in order to get the whole study. To remind us that in all of that that's out there on our little tiny golf ball Earth that we found out wasn't even a golf ball by the end, he cares about us. Does it have a back page?
Yep.
Well, not the whole back page, just the whole back page. The first two verses in Isaiah 43:1. Now this is what the Lord says. He who created you, Jacob, he who formed you, Israel. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. We're God's. We're the apple of his eye. We're in all this majesty if you look out in space, and I'm not quite done with Louis Giglio tonight, sorry.
No, I like him.
We're his everything. So it just, and we all know the one, even the very hairs on our head are numbered. God cares about us so much that we shouldn't put him in a box. We shouldn't just say, okay, you're there, I'll go to church on Sunday. But our study, page one, sorry,
We're on 33, but yours is different.
I am different.
Yep. You want this chair closer to you?
I don't.
I'll give like, say, one for Gina.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, our objective throughout this study, however many weeks it takes us, is to get to know God in a more powerful and personal way. He loves us in a personal way, and we need to get to know him and love him in a very personal way. But we don't have to, but if we don't, we're missing out. We're the ones that are losing. Look at the thimble. See, I did remember my thimble.
Oh, okay. Those were one of our gifts one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, remember we did, Linda gave them us all one.
Oh, it was the hand, the page.
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, okay.
This is the actual hard one.
Oh,
Sewing.
no, that wasn't, that's not the one. Linda gave us rubber
Yeah.
ones that you
Yeah, those were
flip a
cool.
page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to fit the Pacific Ocean into this thimble.
Can't do.
That's how I feel when we begin the study of the person of God. Someone as inadequate as I is going to use something as small as the word to try to describe the greatness of God. And thus I used part of Louis Giglio
Yeah.
to explain how
That's
great
right. That was good.
Sounds impossible? Well, let's just give up and go home. If we were left to our own intelligence and intuition to try to describe God, we could, what could we say about him would amount to less than a thimbleful. One person's guess about God would be as good as another's. None of us would really have anything worthwhile to say. Somebody hold up a Bible. Look at this Bible. God's book given to us. In it, he tells us about himself, his character, his values, his love, in ways that we can understand, that our minds can grasp. I always find that interesting, that our minds can grasp that God doesn't live in time. And we can't function without time, without putting it in next month, tomorrow, the next hour. Doesn't mean squat to God. And in heaven it won't to us either. God invites us to get to know him through the Bible. Through the Bible, he brings the oceans to us, an ocean of understanding about the one who loves us the most. Which from the video is pretty amazing that he can love little us out of all the beautiful and wonderful things he's made. And I speculate that we are the only things in his creation that don't love him back the way he deserves. All of creation does what he wants. I look at my cats. I'm going to write a book, Cindy, about how cats and God coexist. But animals, they do what nature tells them to, and nature is God. We are the only beings that he gave thought to, and we're the only ones that go astray and we make a mess of the beautiful earth. It's my 2 cents. Jump in anytime you want, ladies. As we talk about God today, it's my prayer that you won't feel as if we're looking at who He is from afar. My prayer is that you'll feel like you're diving into the ocean. My prayer is that you'll feel as if you're being hit by a wave after wave of invigorating wave of understanding. God's person and appreciating God's power and enjoying God's presence. Our goal is not just to learn more facts about God. As important as that might be, the goal of this study and the next is to get to know God in a more powerful and personal way. I can say with confidence that there is no subject more important for us to talk about. Life's major pursuit is not knowing self, but knowing God. I think we find ourselves when we know God first. As we launch into this look at the person of God, two attributes are crucial: expectancy and humility. Expect that God will do something great in your life today as we talk about who He is and how He shows Himself to us. A.W. Tozer wrote, "What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing to us."
Yeah, that's in our book.
And I've heard, I don't know if y'all have, that our earthly fathers are often where we get our view of God. And my earthly father was very distant. He was a good provider. He was not a good father. He wasn't a bad father, but he was there and he provided and he loved me from over there. And so that's where I get my, God's there. I know God's always been there. I know He's always been there. I know He's always loved me, cared for me from over there. And I want to feel Him wrap around me.
Now, see, like my dad, I can still hear him telling us things from the Bible that when you're a kid you think, oh, okay. But they stayed with me. Like he always told us, don't ever let the sun go down on your anger because that person might not be there the next day. And just different things. I thought, I mean, now that I'm older, I thought I know what he meant. But when you're young, you just think, oh, okay, but you don't really practice it. But I know, like I maybe told you before, like when I worked, one of the other girls and me had a little, we always left work being friends and said, you know, I'm sorry, or she'd say, I'm sorry. So we were, you know, I didn't want to leave work thinking somebody might be upset with me. And I think us knowing God that, you know, but not everybody has an earthly father that could do that or did that, or maybe they didn't even believe. I was just blessed with a father who did. I mean, later he had problems, but this was in my younger years.
Where we get, when we're younger, is where we get most of the.
Right. He more or less preached it. I mean, he wasn't mean about it, but he just always told us different things, and I can remember those now, and I can still hear them.
Anybody else? God is so great and our belief in Him is so important that even the smallest change in our perspective on who He is and how He acts can transform our lives. Our beliefs about God set the course of our lives. And I never thought about that. That's a really interesting statement. What we believe about God pretty much determines our path. Think about the impact the truth about God can have on your everyday life. What you believe about God sets your moral compass and shapes your attitude toward fortune, fame, power, and pleasure. Trusting the truth about God strengthens us in leadership and pain, keeps us faithful and courageous when we are outnumbered, prompts our praise and enhances our worship, dictates our philosophy and determines our lifestyle, gives meaning and significance to our relationships, shows us when we say yes and when to say yes and when to say no. Knowing God gives us the hope to go on. It is the foundation upon which everything rests. We must also have a humble heart as we study the person of God. Augustine, one of the early leaders of the church, said, if you can understand it, it's not God.
I thought that was interesting when I read that. I had to think about that a while. You know, because I guess we don't understand God. And what I think too is, it's like a blessing and a miracle that we never seen God, but we know He's there, that we can believe. Because look at the people that just don't believe. They don't they have no clue, it's not in their heart. And I thought, that was instilled in our heart through the Holy Spirit. I mean,
The Bible says that, you know, the people, and I'm sure we've all met them, you know,
harden
I wanna see the proof.
Right.
And
I want proof.
if Jesus walked into the room, they would find a reason not to believe. You know, how many people didn't believe, and he did walk in their rooms, you
Yeah.
know, through their lives.
I think he knows our hearts so well. And those of us that are drawn to him are the ones that he knows are open to him. And the ones that aren't drawn to him, they closed them off before they even knew that they were supposed to. You know what I mean? They just have that. Their heart just isn't open to him. And will never be.
Never say never.
Yeah. Right, true, but I,
Keep
you know,
trying.
yeah.
but- And if you can understand it, it's not God. If you think you fully understand it, you stop learning, you stop growing, there's so much more to experience with God until the day we go home. And then we're still all gonna go, why was I a dummy on earth?
I love when people say they don't have to go to church because they've gone for years and they know what it is about, or they don't have to go read the Bible because they've read it through. Well, we all know, and you just laugh at me and go, really? I've forgotten more than I remember. You know, I mean, it's like you have to constantly keep going and keep, you know, reading, because if you don't, there's so much, you can only handle so much at a time, and I think he reveals it to you when it makes sense and when it's real and, you know, and it means the most to you.
And the fellowship too.
Yeah.
My mom and I were talking about that when she told my brother one time years ago to read through the Psalms, I guess, and he did, and he was like, Ian.
Yeah.
And it's just not,
Wasn't the time?
it's not his time, you know.
Yeah, it means the most when you're going through something and you find something. I think with me, it was when I was going through my divorce, and one night I was crying out to God, and always at night it was horrible. You know that from death too.
Yeah, you're alone.
You're alone, and it's just overwhelming, and I'm crying out to God, and whining about this and whining about that, and all of a sudden it just hit me. I said, oh my gosh, I sound like the Israelites crossing the desert, and it's like, I just finally, I really, instead of it just being a book, I could see myself in it for the first time, which was very eye-opening. So, and it's like, okay, now I get it, so I was crying my eyes out anyways, and I'm laughing at myself, because it's like, okay, well, I'm in there too.
That was something Nick had always said about reading the Bible, and you look at it and your eyes go crossed, and ask yourself, how does this apply to me? What does it mean for my life, and how can I use it? Because everything in the Bible, and I haven't figured out numbers yet, but can be used in our life, can be
Yeah.
lived out.
It is a part already of our life.
For you to understand God on your own would be like an ant attempting to understand you. Only by God's grace and revelation to himself do we know anything of what he's like. Instead of approaching this study with a desire to figure out God, begin with a humble intention to let God show you what you need to know about him. Children have a way of asking the right questions about God. What does God look like? Where does God live? How big is he? At some point, many of us stopped asking those questions, maybe because we never got any answers. Today, let's give ourselves the freedom to be kids again and ask those simple questions. Some of you will remember the story. A little girl comes to her mother and says excitedly, I'm going to draw you a picture of God. Oh, honey, replies her mom. No one knows what God looks like. Here you go, Mom. With the characteristic confidence of a 5-year-old, the girl replies, after I'm done with my picture, they will. Close your eyes and bring to mind your picture of God. I can't be creative because I've seen too many of, like
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
God looks like. But that's what Jesus looks like. Christy's reading The Shack.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
a good book.
So now my picture of God sometimes is, I'm sorry, y'all seen Medea, Big Mama?
Yeah.
That's what I think of.
That's gonna be made into a movie, you know.
Is it? Oh gosh, I hope they don't ruin it.
I know, that's what I've heard. It's supposed to be made into a
I'm
movie.
sorry,
What
but
is
it's
it?
vicious.
The Shack.
Oh, wow.
No, it's a movie. Tyler
It's a
Perry,
great
have you heard of
movie.
him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He dresses up as somebody called Medea, and she's
Oh,
a
okay.
big fat black woman, and she's hilarious.
Yeah.
But from what
Oh,
they
okay.
did in the book, that, when I was reading the book, that's what
It's been a while.
I'm like,
since
God is Medea?
It'll be interesting to see how they characterize God, Father,
I said he's whatever you want him to look like.
yeah.
I mean, you can't say he's black, he's white, he's this, he's that. I just said, Ava, he's whatever you picture him. He loves you.
And look at something and interpreting it 100 different ways.
Well, I think because we are made in his image, he is all, you know,
Right.
he is, and I don't think it's about the skin color, the eye color,
Right,
the
yeah,
hair. It's,
yeah.
you know, we're spiritual beings. Yeah, I heard somebody say, we're not a body with a spirit, we're a spirit in a body.
Yeah, that's good.
Close your eyes and bring to mind your picture of God. Do you see an ancient man, long in beard, robe and tooth? Is it a picture of someone who doesn't understand modern things like nuclear physics, computers, and lasers? Sort of a grandfatherly type who's there when you need him? Do you see a pure light or a king on a throne or thunder and lightning? In order to see a better picture of God, it's good to start with thinking about how you picture him now. As we look at God's existence, we need to remember three key truths. God is real, God is revealed, and God is relational.
Yeah, that's in our book too.
Yeah.
In this study, we're going to look at these three truths about God. First glance at them may seem simple, but there's nothing simple about God. The funny thing is, there's nothing simple about God, but He's very simple. You don't have to be a scholar and all kinds of smart things to have a relationship with God or even understand the Bible. You can pull out the simplest truths. What did it say in our last study that I almost redid? You know, pull out the simple things and work with those and work your way up to the bigger, tougher things. These truths form the basis for filling in a picture of who God is and how He works in our lives. God is real, kind of like heaven is real. God is not a character in a story, in some fairy tale. He is as real as we are.
I like that. I thought that was good. He is as real as.
And I think you have to have a relationship with Him to understand that. Because so many people are like, you know, God is not real. Yeah, He's very active in your life if you let Him work in your life.
Or like it says, he doesn't do magic. He's not like a character in a fairy tale.
Right. He kind of does the magic, we just call him
Miracles. Yeah.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
How do we know God exists? Maybe in school you had to study the philosophical argument for God's existence. Ontological arguments, I don't know, cosmological, all the smart stuff things. While these arguments make it clear that logically some kind of higher being must exist, they also make belief in the system of God sound complicated and confusing. Interestingly, the Bible does not present arguments for God's existence. It assumes it. Journey's been going on that sermon study about logic and God, that between Darwinism and poof, here we are from some monkey or something, and logically there has to have been an intelligent being, and then which intelligent being are you going to pick? He's been very good about making it very logical, and if, for someone like Christy's boyfriend who is so thought oriented, he has to touch and see, it would be a good series for him to understand, you know, God. And maybe I just make it too simple because I believe in God. He's God. He's just God. You just believe in him.
That's like my grandson, he too, he believes now you have to touch and see.
We should get some videos for him because Scott's been really, it's really, really compelling. Arguments for God. Have you seen any, Cindy? Have you, because I know you're over there shaking your head.
No, I've never had, I know a lot of people study what is called apologetics, which is to, to prove God's existence. But I was raised Catholic, and I believed in God as a Catholic, to be honest with you. I mean, I didn't have a personal relationship with Jesus as a Catholic, but I just always knew there was a higher being. I kind of grew up that way, so I assumed it. And I didn't know the Bible back then. I mean, I knew nothing about God's Word.
Yeah, I wasn't Bible savvy growing up, or even as a young adult. I was too busy raising kids. But it's,
I can remember talking to him as a little child, just feeling, looking up at the sky. I remember that. So I don't know where that came from. That's why I love Carolyn's testimony, because she didn't grow up in a Christian home, and she had neighbors praying for her, and it gives me courage that my granddaughter, somebody may be praying for her because her parents aren't teaching her about God and Christ. But here's somebody that knew her as a little child and knew her mother was really not, her testimony just gives me such confidence in my granddaughter. By some neighbor just praying for her is going to have the sense of God's presence. And that's encouraging to me, because otherwise that could be very despairing, if she can be what she is today, that goes to show you how much he loves us. And he loves the little children. All the children of the world, red, yellow, black, and white. I really believe that.
we all have moments when we think, is this stuff about God real, or am I just fooling myself? But there's good reasons why 96% of Americans believe that there is a personal God. To the vast majority, the fact that there is a God is intuitively obvious. I don't know. Maybe they believe it, but I would have to say that 96% of that 96% don't live it. And just believing is not,
Yes,
like Jimmy says, even the demons believe there's a God.
That's true.
You have to give him your life. Here are 3 reasons why. We see God's creativity in what he has made. Louis Giglio gave us just one aspect of the enormity of the beauty he's created.
And that's at the bottom of our page 33.
Does somebody want to read Psalm 19, 1 and 2?
I will. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speed. Night after night they display knowledge. It's kind of interesting. You have to really think about that after you read that.
I like the heavens declare the glory.
Yeah.
The picture I put on
Yeah, that's a neat picture. I like
I
that.
found on the internet somewhere, and it's just the aurora over Finland, but it's called the hem of his
Isn't
garment.
that beautiful?
Yeah.
It's
I
maybe
just
such
thought-
as
Found
I'll
it
give-
online?
I'll say for
Yeah.
Donnie and Linda and
2 of them are not complete.
both the pictures so they can see
Oh.
the pictures.
I'll email. I just think of
Okay.
an email.
Okay.
Look up at the sky on a clear night. Well, that doesn't work too well around here.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Maybe over the ocean. Can we see the stars good over the ocean on this chart?
Sometimes it has to be real dark. Now, sometimes I can see, depends on how dark, if like real later at night, if I look that way, because the I-95 lights are that way. But sometimes when we used to walk, Liz and I walk every night, we could see them, we were trying to figure out what was the Big Dipper or,
Yeah.
it has to be really dark
Yeah.
and no clouds.
We saw them one time in our, just the last couple of months, looked, I was like, wow. You could see them all, and it was like, in our parking lot, and even with the light pollution, it was like, wow, this has got, you could make out the Big Dipper or whatever. But, with the ocean too, now they got the turtle, the lights dim for the turtles when they're out, that's the time to go, because then it is darker.
Right.
you could see, if, as long as it's not a cloudy night.
Jimmy and I went to visit his dad several years ago at Eastern Valley, which is in the middle of the desert in California.
Oh, wow.
And we were out at night, which is amazing for me because there's snakes out there. It was pitch black. I mean, they have no street lights. They don't even have a stoplight in town. So it's dark and it's just beautiful.
Are they like right at, like you could reach out and touch them kind of feel? They're so big and they're,
Not so big, but they're so numerous. They're so, you
Yeah.
saw things that are like, okay, I can see a few dots in the sky here, but over there you can just see every direction, stars.
I remember when we used to go up to the lake too.
Yes,
Oh
because
my gosh, we'd take a walk at night and we'd see, it was clear as everything, and we would see everything. Gorgeous.
we lived at one point
Clarity.
on the side of a little hill and you could see all that. And there was something that would come down and move and we'd be outside. We'd go back and forth and back and forth.
UFOs.
UFOs.
And then aren't we funny little beings, okay? Jimmy and I watch way too much TV. Everything going on out there. Of course, I'm going to recommend Louis Giglio's Symphony. I think it's Symphony. The sound the universe makes.
oh,
It's really interesting.
how did you just real quick? How did you get this video?
I stole it off of YouTube.
Oh, okay. He used to be on TV many years ago because Bill and I used to watch him because he was so funny. He
He's,
hasn't been on TV for years.
he's Chris Tomlin's pastor.
Oh, okay, the singer.
Good perspective.
Oh,
But I can download the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
And it's, I sit here and watch these all by myself because Jim doesn't get into it. It's interesting.
And he's good. The way he puts it's great.
We look up at the sky on a clear night, or out on a lake, or in the mountains. Wow, something in us is drawn at that moment to see the greatness of God in the greatness of what He has made. Do you realize how vast the universe is? I think we don't. For what we've done now, we haven't even discovered a touch of what God has done.
No, and we think of here, but I mean, think of all the countries and all the Japan, everywhere. I mean, just can't imagine.
even that's hard to imagine, you know.
And that Earth is just the size of a golf ball, and all these
Yeah.
countries and everything. I mean,
And it's hard for us to picture the deserts and the, you know,
The oceans.
and the lands on the other side of the world. It's like, how can we even
places we
fathom
don't
what's
even
out
think
there?
about.
Yeah.
And what gets me is that I believe we're the only humans, we're the only life forms in this whole thing.
We're the perfect distance from the sun to have the life that we have. The planets on either side of us are, they're either too close to the sun
Hot.
or too cold, you know, but to think that we're perfectly right where we need to be as a planet. To have, yeah, it's amazing. And if there's more, it would be shocking to find how they could, well, I mean, the vastness of it, they might, we don't know, but, you know, I know you're saying that's it, but it's like, you can't even imagine what he's talking about tonight and all those different stars that are so big that I never even heard of them. Half
Some
of
of
them.
them, no.
No.
And you know, I have binoculars. They're old, but they're real big that I bought just to see outside, to see the moon. And if you try to look at a star, you don't see it twinkle here, but it's so twinkly. It's just
Yeah.
twinkling all over in there. It's not like just a light. It's just,
Those are explosions.
yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I thought, oh my gosh, I never, because you just don't see that with the naked eye.
We should go to the planetarium.
Sometimes
The
it's
science, yeah,
Field trip.
yeah,
field trip.
yeah. And no lions will attack us.
What?
No lions will attack us.
Maybe we could figure out one night when everybody could
Well, they're
go,
right next to it though.
like on a weekend or, you know.
Yeah.
something. Okay.
We'll find senior night.
There you go.
Avery Willis gives us this picture. Step on a rocket with me and catch a glimpse of the greatness of God. We travel at the speed of light, 186,282 miles per second. As we blast off, our seats afford us a clear view of Earth. 1 second later, Earth has dropped away from it. Earth has dropped away until it appears no larger than a huge balloon. Sorry, ladies. In 2 seconds, we have a shot past the moon and stolen a glance at a now famous moonshot of the Earth. 8.5 minutes later, we pass the sun. Earth appears to be a speck 93 million miles away in the darkness of space. 5 hours later, we leave our solar system and can no longer distinguish Earth from myriads of other planets and stars. There's also a picture on the internet. It's called the pale blue dot, and that was taken from millions of miles away from a Hubble dude. And it's our solar system, and there's just a little dot, and that's supposed to be Earth. It's quite interesting. I don't know how they figured out that was Earth, though. So. After 4 years of travel at the speed of light, we zip by the nearest star, Alpha Centauri. For almost 10,000 years, we travel across the Milky Way, our own galaxy. After that, we travel another 1,500,000 years before we reach the Great Nebula. Most distant of the 6 other galaxies in what astronauts call the local group. Up to this point, we might compare our journey to a family traveling across country, whose 5-year-old asks before they get out of town, "How much further is it?" In the great vastness of space, we must travel at least 12 billion years at the speed of light before we begin to reach the area of the universe that cannot be seen with telescopes from our planet. And who knows how much lies beyond. Yet Isaiah says of God, hath measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and meted out heaven with the span. Did I read that right? He measures space by the width of his hand.
Wow. Wow.
That is very interesting. What is it, 8 o'clock?
That clock's 5 minutes past, so the bird doesn't chime when the clock's chiming. It's 7:52.
Maybe we can finish at least 2, and then we'll see if we can finish 3.
Okay.
We see God's thumbprint on human history. Would someone read Acts 17, 26, 27?
I'll read it from my book.
Yeah.
From one man he made every nation of men, that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he determined the time set for them and the exact places where they should live. God did this so that men would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. Acts 17, 26, 27.
Okay.
History really is his story. And in the Bible verse it says that we would seek him. And I think sometimes we've gotten way too comfortable, especially here in America. We have enough money, we have enough food, we have enough, that I don't think America is any longer seeking God. Because we're very self-reliant. I can do this, I can.
Go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Whatever you need, some kind of store.
Forgetting that, we still need him tomorrow. Any of our jobs could be gone, any of our lives could be gone, our whole house, everything we depend on. But he won't, so we need to depend on him. Even while he waits to finish the story, it's very evident that God is the author and director and main character in the story we call life. Sociologist Grace Davy cites a recent survey that asked Britons whether they believed in God. Most respondents said they did. The next question, do you believe in God who can change the course of events on Earth? A popular response, No, just the ordinary one. Why make God ordinary? Acts 17, 26, 27 reminds us that there is nothing ordinary about God. He determines both the times and the places of world history. He knows who's going to be our next president? No.
I'm glad he knows, because I sure, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
I
get into
know.
that.
I think that's what's on most of our minds is, we're headed in a very bad direction. And it's not looking up. He sets the course of events on earth, determines when the earth began, and in its timetable that it will come to an end. He alone decided when the world would start fresh with a flood, when Abraham would go to the promised land, when Moses would lead the Israelite slaves out of Egypt. Going through the Old and New Testaments, you would find hundreds of examples of God being at the helm of history. It's still true today. He may allow an evil leader or an injustice to exist for a time, but never to prevail. One of our favorite comments between me and my mouth, God's still in control. Doesn't look like it, but he's still in control. God decides when and how a Hitler will fall. He puts an Abraham Lincoln at the right place at the right time. He decides when communism would unravel in the Soviet states. And as Acts 17 tells us, he does it so that men would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him. And number 3, we see God's actions in our lives. Look at the story of Elijah and his battle with the false prophets on Mount Carmel in 1 Kings 18:24-39. For years, Elijah had been battling the false prophets of God called Baal. Passionate about defending their influence on the nation of Israel, he finally challenges them to a test on Mount Carmel. 450 prophets of Baal show up to battle this one lone prophet of God. For Elijah, that's what I call a poor profit margin. The prophets build an altar, and Elijah's challenge is that the God who burns up the sacrifice of a bull placed on the altar will be shown to be the real God. The prophets of Baal pray and chant all day, but of course nothing happens. You can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, and you can't squeeze miracles out of false gods. Elijah then has water dumped on the altar until it fills a small moat around the place of sacrifice. He prays a simple prayer, and God sends a fire that consumes not only the sacrifice, but the wood and the stone altar and the ground around the altar, and dries up the water that had collected in the trench around the altar. God doesn't just show up and do a mediocre job.
Yeah, definitely.
God's work is clear and personal and personal ways in our lives. God works in clear and personal ways in our lives. Your experience likely has never been as dramatic as Elijah's, but it was just as real. You may have seen his power at work in a restored relationship or in a habit he enabled you to set aside. Maybe he has given you peace when you've been overwhelmed by worry, or he has given you courage to take a step of faith. Every believer has experienced the action of God in his sending his son to give his life for our forgiveness. His action on the cross was dramatic. It was personal. It was not just a historical event. The cross was God's personal action in your life. Jesus died for you. It's easy to forget what God has done. Elijah, 2 days after the victory over the prophets of Baal, got depressed and hid in a cave. Been there. We easily forget the power of what God has done and get caught up in the details of every day. Faith grows when we take the time to remind ourselves of God's actions in our lives. And I think that's a good place to halt.
Right, and I'll put should I get this ready?
This last part, it's 5 minutes.
That's fine, we're doing this to 8 o'clock.
It kind of, Linda, for you, I thought of Linda because she's going through some tough times. She's early. And we all go through rough times and tough times. But Louie again puts a whole spin on this one for us.
While I'm waiting for this to come on, Linda's had a horrible day yesterday.
Linda
it was-
Tan?
It was awful. They treated her just really awful. And the thing is, if she
Long story short, the tour was winding down last time around. We were in Tyler, Texas. The night was over. A guy walks up to me. I wish I could tell you the whole story. It was so of God. Introduces himself to me, says, how are you doing? I just wanted to say hello. I said, it's nice to meet you. He says, you guys winding the tour down? Where are you going to go from here? I said, well, I'm on my way back home to Atlanta, Georgia. He said, well, what's next for you? I said, I'm going to be preaching the next 2 Sundays for my pastor back in Atlanta. He said, oh, cool. What are you preaching on? I said, well, the series is on the glory of God in the human body. He said, that's really amazing. I'm a molecular biologist at the university down the road. Give me your talk. And I was like, oh, wow. I wasn't quite yet ready to unload the talk for a molecular biologist. So I kind of stumbled through what I had, and he's kind of being kind and gracious and like, that's good. And then he says, well, what's your big left hook? You got to have a left hook, a big finish, right? I said, I don't have a left hook yet. He said, oh, Louie. Oh, man, your left hook is laminin. And I'm totally blank on laminin. He goes, Louie, it's a cell adhesion molecule. Protein molecule? Do you know about proteins? I'm like, no. He said, Louie, cells organize into certain molecular structures, and that determines what protein there are. There are between 10 and 60,000 proteins in the human body. We don't even know how many proteins are in the human body. But one of them is a cell adhesion molecule. It's organized into this certain structure, and that tells the cell what its job is in the body. And this one is a cell adhesion molecule. And I'm like, all right. He said, no, Louie, it's like the rebar of the human body. The steel they put in the concrete when they lay the foundations of things, it's that stuff. It's holding your membranes together. It's the glue of the human body, Louie. It's laminin. You got to tell them about laminin. And I'm like, I promise you, I'm going home and tell them about laminin. And I'm sure when I do, revival is going to sweep across the church and probably around the world when I tell them. He said, no. You got to see laminin. I'm like, okay, let's see it. He said, no. You need to go look it up online. You need to go Google laminin. Like, I don't even know how to spell laminin. Takes his card out. He writes on the back, Laminin. I'm like, okay, I cannot wait to get to my computer and get on Google, click on images, type in laminin, and I'm waiting, and these little thumbnails come up on the screen, and I'm like, wow. That's laminin? The cell adhesion molecule. Woo! I am so excited. I am beside myself. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. I love laminin. I'm so fired up. You should see laminin, I guess. That's the thing, right? Okay. Here is a scientific diagram of the laminin cell adhesion molecule that's holding your body together right now. Okay, this is what I found right here. No, come on, that's crazy. That's just crazy. I just can't believe it. I emailed that guy back so fast, I'm like, wow, what in the world? He said, you want to see an actual laminin molecule? I'm like, oh no, man, the diagram was cool for me. I'm happy with that. Don't bother sending anything else. I'm like, yes! And he sends me this image, an electron microscopic image of an actual laminin protein molecule. It looks just like this. I'm like, how crazy is that? That the stuff that holds our bodies together, that's holding the lining of your organs together, holding your skin on, is in the perfect shape of the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. And immediately I'm thinking about the words of Paul in Colossians 1. You know this beautiful passage where Paul's talking about the supremacy of Christ and the sufficiency of Christ. He says, for by Him, talking about Jesus Christ, all things have been created. Things in heaven and things on earth. All things were created by Jesus and for Jesus. But then the next verse goes on to say this. It's crazy. And He, Jesus, is before all things. And in Him, that is, in Jesus Christ, all things hold together. It's right there. I'm like, of course they do. Of course they do. Everything holds together in Jesus Christ. And he goes on at the end of this paragraph, and he just tells the story of grace. He says, for God was pleased to have all His fullness dwell in Christ, and through Christ to reconcile to Himself all things by making peace through His blood shed on a cross.